welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Dustin Jackson.
Dustin Jackson.
Thought I'd be a little softer with my introduction, ease people into it a little bit.
See, I think we need to just ramp it up. Woo!
I'm Dustin Jackson.
Yeah!
Wow!
Oh, it is still Stinky Ape Summer, Dustin. And I know a lot of you are saying, Hyle, this episode went live on Labor Day in the U.S. Summer's over. What do you mean it's Stinky Ape Summer? And to that I say, shut your mouth. Summer actually goes to like September 23rd, technically, here in the Northern Hemisphere. So the way I always view it is summer lasts until Talk Like a Pirate Day on September 19th. That is the last big holiday, the last big summer celebration blowout. So it's still Stinky Ape Summer by the calendar and by DK Vine law. So we
yeah, this ape don't stop stinking till we say so.
Yeah. Now, granted, we are in that kind of funky period of summer where like the kids are back in school and we've got like Halloween decorations in stores. So I like this like time. I actually like this now that I don't have to go back to school. I like that we've got this like bleed through area where it's still summer, the weather's still hot. Everything's still tropical in the vibes, but we've got skeletons.
The best time of year.
Yeah, it's just a nice mosaic.
It's
nice
the perfect
tapestry.
time for a skeleton beach party.
Yes, exactly. So we've still got a couple of episodes queued up for Stinky Ape Summer, and got some nice prizes. So just stick with us. If you like summer and you're bummed that everybody's telling you to watch football and drink pumpkin spice lattes, DK Vine's got your back. It's still summer here, baby.
Yeah, we got a stinky ape for you.
And as we enter the September stretch of summer, late summer, as you may call it, my mind starts thinking about Talk Like a Pirate Day. And when I think of pirates, I often think of Crocodile Isle, the iconic setting of Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Land 2. And on this episode of The Kongversation, we are going to break down something that I have brought up from time to time, just as a aside, a little, that's a quandary. And that is, was the destruction of Crocodile Isle at the end of Donkey Kong Country 2 a creative mistake, a blunderbear on the part of Rare and the Donkey Kong Country 2 team? Did we lose a location that could have been mined for many years to come? Was it short-sighted? That is the question we will be posing on this episode of The Kongversation. It's something I brought up across DK Vine for a while now, and I was like, you know what? Now is the time to really analyze this, to really put this question in the spotlight and ask ourselves and ask you listening at home, did DKC2 blow it? I mean, I know they blew it. They blew the island, but was that what they were blowing in a grander sense of the term? So, yes. But before we get into that, I got to do my plugs.
Oh, my favorite part of the show.
Everybody's favorite part of the show. I hear people actually tune out once I'm done with the due diligence because they think that, oh, well, the best part is over now. The rest is just it's just the
who cares about the rest?
Yeah, it's just the excess. It's just the spillage. The true epicenter of any conversation is this bit. So, Dustin, you and I, we are both stars, superstars of the DK Vine Twitch channel.
That's true. You know, you got to call it like you sees it.
Yeah. You're on the Idaho crew stream.
That's right, I am. Now, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I'd love to. On Tuesday nights, me, as well as my good friends in the Idaho crew, the ACZ, Special Agent Ape, and Tito sometimes.
Sometimes Tito. That's my
sometimes.
That's
we
my
never
favorite
know.
romantic comedy. Sometimes Tito.
Sometimes Tito. You never know. But we just go through whatever DKU game we're feeling. Right now, we're smack dab in the middle of our Banjo-Kazooie marathon, where we're playing through all of the Banjo-Kazooie games. We just finished up Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge, and so we'll be moving on to Banjo-Tooie, not this next week because we're busy this Tuesday, but the following week.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I was going to say, you better be playing Banjo Pilot, but I guess it makes sense that you're doing it in chronological order.
Yeah, and boy, that's been a point of debate among all of us here.
I mean,
one person thinks Banjo Pilot should be here, and other thinks it should be here. It's this whole kerfuffle.
It's after Tooie, Dustin. Take my word.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, now I would argue you are missing out on the brilliance of Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge Mobile Edition and Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge Missions. Two separate games most people don't realize.
Yeah, that's true. We'll probably continue to not play them, though.
Oh, well, maybe the next Banjo-thon. You know, there's always the next time around.
Don't count on it, but maybe.
And of course,
but I'm really looking forward to it. Tooie is my favorite game of all time.
Wow,
so it's always a good time.
Yeah, well, it should be interesting to see how you fare because Banjo-Tooie is a pretty oppressive game in length and
it's
just
a thick
complexity.
boy.
It's complex. It's a complex game, Banjo-Tooie.
That's true. But I feel like every time I play it, I get a better grasp on it. Like, I used to hate Grunty Industries, and now I simply tolerate it.
Well, I myself am playing Banjo-Kazooie on DK Vine Done Slow, which is most Wednesdays at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. BST. And
you just recently did Click Clock, the second half of Click Clock Wood.
Yeah,
correct.
Because DK Vine Done Slow, the gimmick is that I'm not speedrunning. I'm not playing at a regular pace. I'm actually just doing it very slow. And with Click Clock Wood, a lot of the slowness comes naturally when you fall off the tree. But I broke up Click Clock Wood into two parts, and part one is now up as a archived video on YouTube. You can check that out. But part two will be going up shortly. But yeah, I'm winding Banjo-Kazooie down. I have a few more streams left in the leaky bucket. But after that, I will be moving on. I do a new DKU game, and I get several months out of it, generally. So, yeah.
I love it.
It's fun.
I love having a stream where someone stops to smell the roses, especially for games that are among my favorites. I love just admiring the little things.
Yeah, and that's what I really like to do is pointing out small details, really get into like the history of particular characters or things and how the shared universe intertwines. So it's not for everybody, obviously, but if that's your thing, check it out. We also stream Sea of Thieves on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. BST. Dustin is sometimes part of the crew of the Dreadfully Evil. But yeah, if you're into Sea of Thieves, if you're not, but if you like Rare, if you like the DKU, definitely check that out. It's just kind of a nice view of the Sea of Thieves through the eyes of DK Vine. So
it's always a fun time.
Yeah, it's twitch.tv/DKVine or dkvine.com/Twitch. Check it out. Also, don't forget to support DK Vine on Patreon if you want. DK Vine's Patreon is how the site keeps its lights on. This past month, your generous patronage renewed our server cost. So, DK Vine would not exist without the funding of our audience and listeners like you. So we thank you, dkvine.com/Patreon. Also, as September rolls in and summer vacations wind down, I know some of you out there are feeling like you've been, uppercut out of a hella-vessel with your body bouncing down jagged cliffs until it lands in the salty brine of the ocean dark.
Well, Hyle, you know the problems I've had falling down cliffs.
I do. But what's one to do, Dustin, as the sharks begin to converge on you while you are flailing about in the sea?
I wish I knew. I have all these sharks around me.
What if there's no secret underground network of tunnels that leads you to an ancient ancestral ley line that replenishes your life force? Well, have you instead considered reaching for a land shark island-style lager? It's land shark.
Wow.
Land shark is akin to a pulsating blue earth energy that will mend your spiritual wounds without running the risk of you tumbling into it and bringing ruin to both you and everything you've ever cared about. That is, so long as you drink responsibly. Land shark island-style lager. If I'm plugging it, Jimmy Buffett must be paying me. And if I'm taking Jimmy Buffett's money, I must think it's good.
We've already won.
Sharky.
That sounds delicious.
It goes down smooth. Just like a shark.
Those are my favorite kind.
All right, Dustin. All right. Donkey Kong Country 2's ending. I think I'm speaking to, like hive mind here when I say the ending to that game is generally considered a masterpiece in both being one of the most satisfying conclusions ever devised to any platforming game, but also in just being extremely cathartic and beautiful. That long, lingering shot of Donkey, Diddy, and Dixie just gazing out at the ocean, the empty ocean where once stood the imposing image of their enemy's homeland. But was that ending a mistake?
I mean, it's a masterpiece and all, but maybe it was the wrong move.
Yeah, so I'm curious what you think. I'm also curious what our live stream audience has to think. Hello to the Geek Critique, Josh Wallen. How you doing?
Hello.
So, I'm curious what Josh has to say. Josh will be returning to the conversation, by the way, at some point in the autumn. We've got an episode we've been kicking around. Earlier today, actually, we were like, hey, this would be a good episode. So if you're a fan,
I'm looking forward to it.
If you're a fan of the Geek Critique on the conversation, good times are ahead for you. But yeah, so Dustin, I think we need to recap for those who maybe aren't familiar with the ending or just haven't played it in a while, what the ending of Donkey Kong Country 2 actually was. We need to set the stage. So all throughout the adventure of Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy and Dixie are, of course, adventuring on the Kremling's island, their home island, Crocodile Isle, which is Donkey Kong Island's nearest neighbor.
Right.
Yeah. And they're trying to rescue Donkey Kong from K. Rool, who's keeping him in his castle, K. Rool's keep, and then eventually, absconds with him up into the Flying Croc, and then K. Rool falls out of the Flying Croc into the ocean. You think he's been eaten by sharks, and he's dead. And meanwhile, they still have to mop up some things on Crocodile Isle, including solving the mystery of the Kremling Lost World, which is this, like the original origin point of the Kremlings deep beneath Crocodile Isle, which they can access through Clubba's kiosk, paying him 15 Krem coins a pop. They get to explore a different section of the Lost World. And ultimately, when they complete all of these levels, then the giant stone head in the middle of the Lost World opens up. The crocodile core is accessible. And the crocodile core houses the Kremling source. It's a little bit ambiguous what this is supposed to be, but I interpret it, and I've always interpreted as this mystical earth energy that is like just pulsating, oozing out of the earth beneath Crocodile Isle, and is responsible for the evolution of not only the Kremlings, but probably all of the unique animal species native to Crocodile Isle. So, like, you know, what's the difference between a bee and a zinger? Well, a bee that was exposed to the Kremling source evolved into a zinger. You know.
Right.
Yeah, so
we're all familiar.
Right. So anyway, yeah, so it turns out K. Rool is hiding in the crocodile core. He somehow got into the Lost World after getting chomped on by sharks, and he healed himself with the Kremling life source. And anyway, you pick up the K. Rool duel in the crocodile core. His gun backfires, and he gets thrust into the Kremling source, clogging it, like plugging it up and creating a buildup of energy. Crocodile Isle starts trembling. The Kongs return to the Monkey Museum. Cranky takes the time to put Diddy back on the video game hero podium. It's like, go! It sounds like Crocodile Isle's going to explode, but first we need to compare your stats to Mario. Anyway,
you have your priorities in order.
Yeah, they get back to Donkey Kong Island, and from the safety of what I think is supposed to be the cliffs on Vine Valley, Donkey, Diddy, and Dixie watch as Crocodile Isle erupts, the Kremling source rupturing through the top of the island, completely obliterating like everything above Crazy Kremland, and the island sinks into the ocean. K. Rool does escape, laughing maniacally as he sails into the horizon, but Crocodile Isle and presumably a good bulk of the Kremling population are no more.
Whoops.
Yeah. So, as we've often joked about on this podcast, essentially Diddy and Dixie commit an accidental genocide of the Kremling people. I mean, it wasn't their fault.
Yeah, it could have happened to anyone.
Yeah, K. Rool's blunderbuss backfires, and I mean, K. Rool is the one instigating a battle with them right in the, you know, like the heart of Kremling origin. It's on him, you know, mostly.
Yeah, I'd say it's mostly his fault.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, without his machinations, without his scheming, without his plot, this never would have happened. Diddy and Dixie didn't mean for this to happen, but it happened, and I'm sure they, on some level, carry that guilt with them to this day. I like to imagine Diddy wakes up, you know, drenched in sweat, and he's just like, he reaches for the whiskey by the side of the bed. His hand
he remembers that. He remembers that look in that clampon's eye.
And Dixie turns and she's like, "You had the dream again, didn't you?"
Hyle, I have a question for you about this Kremling life force energy.
Yeah.
What do you think it tastes like?
Yeah, I think it tastes like grape. You know, like grape flavored candy.
Yeah, see, I'm looking at the colors. I think grape candy's a good answer. When I look at those colors, I think of those wild berry Pop-Tarts.
What? Yeah, it looks like Nebula from off of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, purple with like a blue, just lines going through. It's very nice.
Yeah.
I feel like, I know this isn't true, but I feel like it makes it more delicious.
I like to think that when K. Rool fell into the Kremling source and his girth was, causing the buildup, he was probably like, oh shit, but he was also probably like,
This would go nice on a toaster pastry.
So, I know we build things up as far as our opinions on the Donkey Kong series. I know, like, no serious video game scholar is going to sit back in their big leather chair with their, smoking jacket on and their pipe and say, oh yes, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest is by far the most moving video game ending ever written. I realize this is a game about monkeys fighting crocodile people, and the pathos that we glean from it is mostly due to our own affinity for the series and no I guess video game journalist or scholar with serious credentials would ever say this belongs in the top 10 or whatever. But like I said, for a platforming game, I don't think you're ever going to be like moved quite as much as this ending, just in the sheer visceral impact of it, and also just the quiet contemplation that comes afterward. It's stirring. I know I'm the weird Donkey Kong guy, and whatever. I'm fully committed to the bit at this point. Like I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not. I don't care if I come across as just the weird diaper wearing creepy man that everybody like tells their kids to stay away from. I seriously think this ending is my favorite ending of all time in any video game. It's wow. Brilliant. It's brilliant.
High praise.
But for a platforming game, I don't think anything comes close to this. Can you think of any?
I can't think of any.
No.
I mean, like when I think of platformer endings, I think of like, thank you for playing. Bye.
Right, Donkey Kong Land's classic ending that just says congratulations with a period. Like, not even an exclamation mark. Yeah, congratulations.
Well, I'm glad it was acknowledged at least.
And Donkey Kong Country 3, the egg drops on K. Rool, and you're like, really? That's it? After this? That's it? But how do you top this? I don't think you can top this without, like, I don't know. Like, I think they could have tried a little bit, met them halfway, but I think this is just, this will never probably be outdone in any Donkey Kong game. Like, you're gonna get cool little scenes like, they thaw Donkey Kong Island, and then they play music together. That's sweet, but it's not as like, oh my god, mind-reeling, and then, oh my god, this is gorgeous. Oh my god, this is making me think about life. As DKC2's ending.
Yeah, I mean, Donkey Kong did punch the moon in Returns.
Right. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. But Crocodile Isle is one of the most interesting locations in the Donkey Kong universe, in the entire Rare Archipelago. And, honestly, Crocodile Isle was, I think, the first time that the Rare Archipelago was really established. Because before this, it was just Donkey Kong Island. Like, we didn't know the Kremlings came from somewhere else, really, before Donkey Kong Country 2. Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Land, we're just like, okay, this is Donkey Kong Island, and here are some more areas associated with Donkey Kong Island, but we don't know what lies beyond the sea. Dun, dun, dun. And we, like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is just a crazy tropical island where gorillas talk and there are crocodile people. Maybe there's nothing else. And then Donkey Kong Country 2, like, zoomed out a little bit and was like, all right, but here's this island.
There's more for you.
Yeah, and then of course we keep zooming out over the years. Oh, here's this whole temperate area with bears, and oh, here's an island where they race, and there's tigers and a genie, and oh, over here, it just kept going. And that does, when it's saying Crocodile Isle established the Rare Archipelago, I'm ignoring retcons for older games like Donkey Kong 3, what was retconned as being Juicy Jungle, as you and I talked about, Dustin.
Right.
Ultimatum Island being correlated with where Saberwolf GBA took place, etc.
Which we also talked about.
We've been all around the retconned Rare Archipelago this season.
Wow, it feels like just a few months ago.
I thought that it was a brilliant idea for a setting for the sequel. I'm going to say brilliant a lot in relation, because everything about Donkey Kong Country 2 is brilliant. I don't care. It's best platformer ever made. But not only was it a nice twist to have a tropical location that was a little bit scary, a little bit dark, a little bit depressing, a little bit dirty. It felt refreshing a little bit after Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Island, which was, Donkey Kong Island can be creepy at times, those mines, but it's generally warm and inviting, and it's celebrating like the warmth, the positivity, the uplifting spirit that is nature. Whereas Donkey Kong Country 2 is kind of the other side of the coin, where it's like, it could be dark and dangerous and imposing at the same time. But, Crocodile Isle also really helped flesh out the Kremlings as an antagonist, as a species, as a people. And we really started to understand their perspective a little bit more. I mean, it was on Crocodile Isle where we got to know Clubba, who was the first Kremling that really showed us that maybe there's more to being a Kremling than just being a blind follower of K. Rool. Maybe there's a little bit more going on there, and that we shouldn't just judge an entire people based on their political affiliation.
Yeah, I kind of wish we got a little more of that going forward. I mean... We couldn't get that in the retro games on account of no Kremlings at all, but I do really like that idea. I think that makes Clubba a very interesting character, and it's weird to me that he never comes back.
I love Clubba. Clubba is honestly my second favorite Kremling after K. Rool, and I think Clubba has so much potential.
Mm-hmm.
You know how the cartoon series introduced Captain Scurvy, which is just basically canon from the video games, but they call him Captain Scurvy, and they made him the leader of the pirate Kremling. So they get introduced pirate Kremlings in the cartoon without like changing their K. Rool model, So they could bring in and pirate Kremlings and say they're led by this guy, and this is a different faction entirely. Well, I always thought, actually, the video game should take a page from that and bring back Clubba as the leader, the new Captain Clubba of the remaining like nautical forces of the Kremling crew. And
that'd be awesome.
He's no longer affiliated with K. Rool, like they've split off after the events of Country 2 and Land 2. And maybe he's like not a friend or an ally of the Kong, but an enemy of K. Rool. So this kind of wild card third party in the war.
I'd love that. I think that'd be a great idea. One thing I really like about that is Clubba already has a weapon that's not just your standard like cutlass for a pirate. It would give him a uniqueness as far as pirate captains go.
Yeah, he just got a big fat stick with nails in it. I love how simple it is. Like
it's all you need.
He's a complicated character, Clubba, but his likes are not that, extravagant. He likes big wood with nails.
Well, who doesn't?
But there was also Crunch from Diddy Kong Racing, a very multifaceted Kremling character who would go on to become friends with characters like Diddy and Banjo and Conker, which was interesting. And yeah, I would argue that maybe some of the Kremlings in Donkey Kong Barrel Blast aren't necessarily like fully antagonistic. Like Calypso, I would say Calypso is kind of like, she's not really like anti-Kong. She runs a nightclub for Kremlings, for resettled Kremlings on Donkey Kong Island. She's interesting. Like I like the DKC2 started to make us think about Kremlings. Like Wrinkly is trying to educate Kremlings on Crocodile Isle. And, we're starting to think about them in terms that aren't just, oh, they are the villains. And for a game series to like get there in just 1 year, essentially the third game from Rare in the DKU, I don't know. It was kind of cool. It made me like break up my binary thinking as a kid. I was like, oh, okay. There are Kremlings that aren't necessarily evil. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I kind of compare it to the Mario series. One thing I talk about with the Mario series is I'll always prefer if you have a character over just like a generic Toad or a Koopa or a Goomba or something.
Oh, Dustin, I've got bad news for you. Like the past, bad news about the past 15 years.
Ooh. Oh, but I do really love taking a member of this species and making them an actual character. Like Crunch is great. Club is great. Crunch, another one I wish they had the chance to do more with.
Yeah, Nintendo owns Crunch.
Yeah, they could just do it. They could just do it whenever they want.
Crunch could be in Mario Kart Tour. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, just make the call.
Call him up. Call Crunch up. Just
he hasn't had any work in decades.
You've got his contact information.
He would love nothing more.
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting visiting the Kremling's home and getting to know the Kremlings a little bit more, but there's also like just benign and friendly non-Kremling wildlife there. I mean, it's established that Radley is definitely a native of Crocodile Isle, and I think it's implied that Squitter, Clapper, and Glimmer are also natives to Crocodile Isle. And so it was just like, oh, wow, the Kongs come to Crocodile Isle, and they immediately, like, form a bond with some of the wildlife there. That's cool. And it just made me like think about like, oh, what else is there on Crocodile Isle? If there's like giant friendly spiders, like what other secrets are waiting to be uncovered? And
yeah, maybe there's like a big manatee wearing a hat.
See, with Squitter and his shoes, his sneakers, I like to imagine that the Kongs like provided those for him. Like they just found this spider who was very like welcoming, and he was just like, I don't know, maybe he like ran up to them and like nuzzled his head against their ankles, and they were like, "Oh," and they were like, "Quick, let's get 4 pairs of sneakers for him," because they have the DK logo.
We got 4 pairs of shoes burning a hole in our pocket. This is probably the only time we're going to be able to get rid of them.
They have the DK logo on, like, I think the tongue. So it's like, I think they came from the Kongs. I don't know why.
That makes sense to me.
Maybe they're Donkey Kong shoes, and it was
just they just stole them.
Yeah, they stole, because he's like, he doesn't need them. He's tied up.
Yeah,
somewhere.
He never wears them. He's had these shoes for years, and I've never seen him wear them.
Maybe it's because they keep stealing his sneakers to give the spiders. I don't know, Dustin, there's just a beauty to Crocodile Isle throughout all the game. I know I just described it as dark and grimy and depressing, but think about the bramble mazes. Think about the haunted forest. It's sort of like marveling not at the petals on a rose, but at the thorns on the stem. It's almost like achingly beautiful in a way that Donkey Kong Island and the Northern Hemisphere can never be. It's a melancholy that never loses sight of the light still shining through the canopy, or the blue skies that are still visible through the oppressive sticker bush.
Yeah, I love it. I want to ask you a question I'm sure you've already answered before.
Sure.
But what's your favorite area on Crocodile Isle?
Oh, the bramble for sure. I mean, like Bramble Scramble in particular
Nice.
is just the.
I love Bramble Scramble.
I know it's a cliched answer, but for me, like I love all of Crocodile Isle. Like, maybe the swamp, the marsh levels are my least favorite, but I still really like them. It's just the brambles, though. It's just something that you never see outside of this. Like I don't think Donkey Kong Country 2 in particular gets enough credit for the innovative ideas and the set pieces it pulls off, like the zinger hives and
Yeah, I was about to mention the zinger hives.
just the amusement park, but like the bramble nest or what, however you want to describe them. It's such an original idea that still feels somehow plausible, but it's a nice kind of melding of the fantastical while keeping it rooted in the Donkey Kong Country style of like still being a celebration of nature, of our nature, Earth's nature, rather than being some sort of fantastical setting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that's why it really just sticks out to me. I remember first playing Bramble Scramble back in 1995 and just thinking like, this feels familiar and fresh all at the same time. It was like stirring some part of my soul that just recalled something in my lifetimes like that resembled it, but of course I can never place it because I've never been anywhere like that. I don't know.
One thing I really like about the Bramble stages is the contrast, because you have this soft, beautiful music in the background, but this is probably like one of the most dangerous areas on this island. Like everything around you can kill you. It's not just a matter of there's enemies here. You're surrounded by these brambles. You could die at any second if you like move your toe in a weird way. But I just love that combo of that and the soft music kind of going together with it.
Yeah, it's just the perfect blend. It's everything is firing on all cylinders, and also Bramble Scramble is just one of the best design stages. And it's just so varied, and yeah, it's just perfection.
It's funny because I feel like, at least for me, the brambles kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first, because the first bramble stage, it's mostly just barrel cannons,
yeah,
and it's very annoying. And the visuals are still nice, but I do feel like they even do that better in Bramble Scramble.
Yeah, I think Bramble Scramble, when you finally get there, you can really soak it in and appreciate it. I think Bramble Blast, it might have been a mistake putting Bramble Blast first. Like one of the few criticisms of DKC2 I will ever, throw out there, but ultimately, Bramble Scramble. I do like the placement, the fourth world. It's just it just feels right. It's a more impressive stage. It just feels like Bramble Blast kind of. It's a shame that people sometimes equate the Bramble aesthetic with Bramble Blast before Bramble Scramble.
My favorite is. Oh, it's hard to say because I really like just the Gangplank Galleon stage. My favorite stage in the whole game is probably Topsail Trouble.
Yeah.
Basically for the same reasons. I really like the music, and I like how they go with like the stormy skies, the rain. It's great. But I also really love those forests.
Yeah, the thing about the Gangplank Galleon levels, but specifically the rigging stages. Main Brace Mayhem, Topsail Trouble, is how they capture sort of the romanticism of seafaring and the high seas, and it just perfect. Like Jib Jig, another just I think underrated David Wise track.
It's my absolute favorite song in the game.
Oh, awesome! High five right here. Yeah. I think that like it just when I think of DKC 2 as a whole, I think of Jib Jig and the rigging levels, because that's really where I really feel like it captures the spirit of adventure that Donkey Kong Country 2 is ultimately about. But it's amusing to me how, like, once you get on to Crocodile Isle, like, the game still clings to the pirate aesthetic, even though it gets more and more distant the farther up you get. But it's still, there's always a little note of it, even at its furthest removed, you know?
Yeah, that's something I was thinking about the other day, just how the whole game is pirate themed, but really it's only the first world that is a pirate world. But it makes sense. You're going onto an island. Pirate stories are full of islands, and this island has a ton of shit on it.
Well, and that's Crocodile Isle is essentially a pirate stronghold. I mean,
exactly,
that's what it is. I mean, we can go deeper than that and say, well, it's also the Kremling homeland. It is where most Kremlings and Kremling evolved species live, but I mean, for the purposes of Donkey Kong Country 2, it is a pirate stronghold, and that, I mean, look at that treasure map that's in the background of the menus, where you've got the big X and K Rool's Keep. The treasure is Donkey Kong, and you have to go get the pirate treasure. But a captivating location in a video game is an amazing thing. And because it's a place I like to revisit, not only while playing the game and replaying the game, but just a place I like to often visit in my mind, in my imagination, when I'm daydreaming. This might seem like a tangent, but just stick with me here. Super Mario Brothers 3, Dustin, a classic platformer, beloved by generations of gamers, often held up as the finest platformer ever made.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it before.
Yeah, it's my least favorite of the original Super Mario Brothers games. And I think very, very highly of Super Mario Brothers 2, aka Super Mario USA, aka originally Doki Doki Panic. Super Mario World, I absolutely adore. But the worlds in those two games, compared to Super Mario Bros. 3, the worlds are lush, they're vibrant, they're colorful, and they're interesting to me. Whereas it was pointed out to me, and I really think this explains my general distaste for Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Bros. 3 is presented as a stage play. The background elements are often constructed like props. Every level you're essentially running off stage. Even if in universe it's presented as a real adventure that Mario and Luigi are going on to, fight back against Bowser and then ultimately rescue the princess from the Dark World. It's not visually communicated that way. It's communicated as artificial, as fake. And I do believe Child Hyle, his brain picked up on this subconsciously, and it depressed me. I would get sad playing Super Mario Bros. 3, and I could not figure out why, because at the time, I was all about Super Mario Brothers. It was my go-to franchise. I watched the Super Show. I watched I watched the Super Mario Brothers 3 cartoon. I think it was like, what was it? The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3 or something.
Yeah, it was just called The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3.
Garbage title, but I watched the hell out of it.
I do think it's probably the best of the Mario cartoons, but that's a pretty low bar.
Yeah, Super Mario World wasn't a great capper to the trilogy.
What are you talking about? It had Ukhtar, Dino Bunga.
But I just something about it like was off-putting to me, and it's only been in recent, like I think this year, where it was pointed out to me. You keep going on about how much you love locations and natural environments, and this is why you probably don't like Super Mario Brothers 3. And when it was just put to me in those stark terms, I was like, oh my God, you're right. Because I don't have any issue with the design of Super Mario Brothers 3. I mean, it was a very innovative game, and just really like drove the genre forward. We would not have Donkey Kong Country without Super Mario Brothers 3, but I just don't like it, and that's why. And I look at Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, a game I don't have issue with. I like so much about Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, but the thing that still puts me off is that most of the worlds outside of Showdown Town and ultimately Spiral Mountain, they're in artificial like domes. They're not in nature. They're not like it is presented as like, hey, log is putting you through these challenges, but everything is fake. Like I love so much about the game, but it's deflating when why I love the DKU, why I love Banjo-Kazooie, why I love Rare is how much they can celebrate our natural world and bring that to life in a colorful, fun, creative way, and they create a archipelago, this island chain, this fictional island chain that I want to revisit time and time again. And Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts plucked you out of that and put you in this god realm of artifice. And I was like, oh, I don't like that as much.
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you, almost all the way. I still enjoy Mario 3, but I do also put it below 2 and World for that exact reason. And same with Nuts and Bolts. I don't like that the worlds are so artificial. I'll go even farther. That's one reason I prefer Banjo-Tooie to Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh.
Not that the way Banjo-Kazooie does it is bad, of course. It's great. I love the worlds in Banjo-Kazooie. But I think just having the worlds in Tooie have like a set space they're in, like it feels like an actual world where you can go to these locations. Whereas in Kazooie, again, I don't think there's a problem with the way it does it. They're great worlds, but I don't get as much out of going through a portal and being teleported to this world. I do think that's a big contributor why Tooie's one of my favorites.
And I definitely understand that. I can accept the way Banjo-Kazooie does it, because even though you're teleporting to these like worlds that are like removed, they still feel like actual environments.
Exactly.
I never feel like Mumbo's Mountain is somehow lesser than because a portal gets me there. It's just like, well, it's still a fun place to visit. But,
right. It's still great. It still feels like a fully realized location.
Yeah.
That's actually, I know this is getting off track a little bit, but I actually like Mario Odyssey the best of the Mario games because it does exactly that. It sets these worlds you go to as like actual locations with a physical place in this world rather than just like jumping through a painting and you're there.
Sure. Yeah, I absolutely. And I actually brought this up in the preparation for this episode in the DK Vine Inner Circle Discord chat, and it was posed to me. It was like, would you not like the Paper Mario games then? Because everything is, in this crafty style, and it's not being presented as a real location. I'm like, well, but in the context of Paper Mario, it is. There's nothing to say like, it's not just we're putting on a pantomime. This is a play. This is fake.
It's treated as a real adventure.
Right. And then it just comes down to art style, and then that's the same thing in my mind as like It's Mr. Pants has the crappy hand-drawn cranny style but it's the world building in It's Mr. Pants. Yes, I'm going to say this. The world building in It's Mr. Pants is so vast and impressive that the art style just, I think, accentuates the absurdity of it and layers in even more charm. So it's really just down to presentation for me. And it's why I actually prefer the first Mario Party game over 2 and 3, because the first Mario Party game takes place in real locations on Donkey Kong Island and in the Mushroom Kingdom, whereas 2 takes place in Mario Land and everything is, again, like a stage play. Mario Party 3 takes place within a toy box and everything is this like cardboard set. Mario Party 4 takes place in this party cube, which is like a virtual holodeck. Mario Party 5 takes place in the realm of dreams, Dream Depot or something, which is still, I guess, better than what came before, because dreams can just be another layer of reality if we want to get philosophical. But, you know, it is just something I really gravitate to in games, and it can make or break a game for me.
Same, totally.
But when I say, like, I often revisit these locations in my mind, even when I'm not playing the game, you know, Donkey Kong Island is somewhere I admittedly spend a lot of my daydreaming time in my mind. I mean, it's been like that since I was a kid. I remember sitting in class, in math class, and I don't know if I've told the story where I was placed in the wrong math class, and they realized I should be in the more advanced math class halfway through the school year, so they plucked me out and put me in the advanced math class. And then, but I didn't have any of the basis for what we were doing in advanced math, and then that just totally derailed mathematics for me for the rest of my academic career. So I would sit in math class being totally lost, just trying to bluff my way through it for the next 6 years. And
man, that sounds like a nightmare.
It was, Dustin. That's why I'm a Donkey Kong journalist now, rather than
you don't need math for that.
Yeah, I could have been a Nobel Prize winning chemist who could have revolutionized the world, but you know, then they made that mistake, so it's just Donkey Kong journalism. It was all that was left for me. But
yeah, we're living in the good timeline.
I would sit in like this math class where I was totally lost, and I would just daydream about being on Donkey Kong Island instead, and it just it was just a mental refuge for me, this small awkward child. But then, you know, as I grew up, that stayed with me. I would go hiking, and I would really like take to adventuring throughout nature, and I would see elements of DK Island in our own nature, in my own environment. And so I would, of course, immediately mentally project there and be like, oh my God, I'm in Vine Valley, or maybe I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, and you know, that's very relatable. And so, yeah, I bounce back and forth between Donkey Kong Island, the Northern Hemisphere, Timbers Island, if it's the holiday season, you know, Spiral Mountain, on a lazy summer day out in the country. But Crocodile Isle, for as much as I love it, for as much as I hold up Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest as the absolute finest game ever crafted, is not a place I visit in my mind. And I realized it's because it was destroyed, and therefore, logically, inaccessible. Like I basically said, oh, it no longer exists, therefore I can't even pretend to be there in my absent daydreaming.
Yeah, I guess you could daydream about just flailing around in the water above where it sank.
Yeah. Next time I'm in a swimming pool, I'll do that.
This is just like where Crocodile Isle would be.
I'll go to the beach, and instead of thinking about all of the urine and blood and semen that must be in the ocean, I'll instead think about Oh, I'm right above Crocodile Isle. My little legs are dangling above where K. Rool's Keep used to be.
Summer's not over yet. Get out there, kids.
And Crocodile Isle is such a fascinating location, Dustin. It's got so much implied history to it that it's weird that I don't think about it more in these daydreamy contexts. I have to say, back in late 95 to early 1996, I would think about it all the time when I was being me and just mentally drifting away. I would think about Crocodile Isle and visiting there and being Diddy and Dixie and exploring it. And in my childhood, shenanigans, my fun and games, it would be a part of it. But then once I beat Donkey Kong Country 2 and saw Crocodile Isle go kablooey, I stopped doing that. It was cut off from me. And maybe this is just a limit of my own imagination, a mental roadblock, but it did make me start considering as the years rolled by, it's a shame. We have so much potential with this location and we've never revisited it. Well, I say we never revisited it, but of course, there was Donkey Kong Land 2, which...
Of course.
I know this is a controversial take, but it is my opinion. And I realize this wasn't what Rare set out to do, but it is of my opinion that both Donkey Kong Land and Donkey Kong Land 3 are original stories that are canon. Therefore, Donkey Kong Land 2 must be more than just a simple demake, a simple retelling of DKC2 on the original Game Boy. It must be its own separate adventure. How could we have a trilogy of a first game and a third game without that second game? So, DK Vine's fanon has always been that Donkey Kong Land 2 is a new adventure that takes place between DKC2 and Donkey Kong Country 3, where K. Rool, using Kremling magic, which of course we see him use in DKC3, we see him put a Kremling spell on the Queen Banana Bird and the Banana Birds themselves, but he erases the remains of Crocodile Isle into this slapshod recreation of Crocodile Isle, which is why it looks worse in Donkey Kong Land 2, which is why it looks degraded and demolished.
Two of the worlds are combined.
Yeah, it's almost post-apocalyptic in some backgrounds and interpretations, and even things like Slime Climb, instead of getting chased by a Snapjaw, it's just toxic sludge, like Toxic Tower, and it's the island is just oozing from its pores because it's just a wasteland now. And I realize that's not actually the developer intent, and that's just our own little patchwork to make everything fit in our brains. But it works, and that's the way I view Donkey Kong Land 2 to this day. Oh, it's just Crocodile Isle being held together by mystical duct tape, and then of course at the end it just falls back into the ocean again, probably even more broken down than it was the first time around. And so it's not just destroyed, it's just obliterated now. There's probably barely any pieces left that are intact. But
yeah, maybe we'll leave it alone after this one. Maybe this was our one chance.
Yeah, so aside from Donkey Kong Country 2 for the Game Boy Advance, which gave us, a couple of different glimpses of Crocodile Isle, a couple different areas that weren't there, that weren't seen in the first go around, we've never revisited Crocodile Isle. And it seems like a shame to me. But it's not like we've revisited many other areas, to be fair. Outside of Donkey Kong Island, we've only explicitly returned to the Northern Hemisphere once in Donkey Kong Land 3, where we saw some new areas of the Northern Hemisphere. But, otherwise we just go back to Donkey Kong Island, or we go to new islands. And that's the reality. Even if Crocodile Isle didn't sink at the end of DKC 2, it's not like we would have revisited it, but just knowing that we could have revisited it would have felt special. Knowing that it was still out there, even if it was only accessible via our imagination, that can be a powerful thing. And I feel like it's something that was lost at the end of Donkey Kong Country 2.
Right. It only just occurred to me, like, right this second, but that was enemy territory. Now you just don't really have that. You don't have, like, this place to be wary of, this dangerous Kremling homeland. The Kremlings don't really have anywhere to call home.
I mean, that's what I think is so interesting about where the Kremlings go after Donkey Kong Country 2, because they do kind of resettle across the Rare Archipelago. Not just Kremlings, but also Kremling-affiliated species. I mean, I just talked about on DK Vine Done Slow how there is a Noddy living in Click Clock Wood. And I'm like, oh yeah, he moved there after Crocodile Isle sank. And he settled in Click Clock Wood, which I think is an upgrade, in my opinion. But, I like this idea. Like I said, Calypso has a nightclub for resettled Kremlings in the Congo jungle. That's pretty cool. Like, I like those little bits here and there. But, yeah, you're right. Like, there's no real enemy territory. The Tiki Tak tribe came from Donkey Kong Island. They're arguably, like, the spirits of ancient Kongs themselves. The Snowmads, we got closer with them because it was said that the Snowmads came from the northern seas, but we never visited the northern seas. So it's just this implied location, like in the uppermost regions of the Rare Archipelago, but we've never seen it. We probably never will see it if we're. I always thought, it's a shit. I would love back when, we had 3DS games alongside console games, it would have been great to follow up Tropical Freeze with a game where the Kongs go, take the fight to the Snowmads in their territory. That would have been really cool, but that just, didn't happen.
Yeah, it's just a wish. It's just a dream.
Banjo-Tooie did play with this. It's same team that did Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2 then went on to do Banjo-Kazooie. And then in Banjo-Tooie, they essentially shifted the perspective. I know we had Grunty's Lair and everything in Banjo-Kazooie, but Banjo-Tooie upped it by, showing us the Isle of Hags. And this is just the Winky Bunyan controlled territory. Although it's less, like, completely controlled, than Crocodile Isle was, because we still had Junjo Village and the influence of the moles, and we had different little pockets where it felt like, yeah, this is technically witch territory, but Jolly Roger is still the mayor of this town, and
right, just stay out of the witch's way, and you'll probably be fine. They don't come down very often.
Right, yeah. They have their factory, and then they run the amusement park, which, characters seem to really like. All the characters like to visit Witchy World, even though it's a death trap. But, yeah, I mean, enemy territory, I think it's a great concept, and it's what I love about Crocodile Isle, because, I think about Bowser and the Koopa Troop in Super Mario, and I'm like, well, Super Mario Brothers 3 established, like, the dark world, dark territory, whatever, which is just this, like, ambiguous lava field, which arguably we've revisited several times throughout different Mario games, but it's never really articulated, defined in any measurable way. It's always just, spooky lava land. I mean,
it's never made to feel like an actual place that people could live in.
It just suits the purposes of the game it appears in, which is always, I think, the problem with Mario compared to Donkey Kong. It's
Agreed.
something I've always brought up. Like Mario presents an obstacle course in service of gaming, where Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Country presents a tangible world that you explore and romp through. So
right, and I don't want to sound like I think that's a bad way to make a game, but I definitely gravitate more towards putting a little more thought into how your world works.
Sure, it's all down to preference. Different strokes for different folks. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I mean, I think one is better than the other, but I realize I'm also...
It's subjective.
It's subjective. I'm the diaper-wearing freak who doesn't understand math, so... Ray Day Pinball was in a live stream. It says, spoiler alert in relation to Crocodile Isle being destroyed. I'm sorry.
Whoops.
I'm sorry. Ray Day says, good thing I finished DKC 2. No idea what happens at the end of DKL 2, though. Well, I won't get into specifics, because I definitely want you to finish Donkey Kong Land 2.
Have fun.
Yeah. I already spoiled it for you, but I won't get into specifics. There's other things I want to dissect in this question, but we do have a call I want to take, and so I want to hear what someone else has to say, and maybe that will guide us and maybe form an opinion on this. I don't know if we can form an opinion on this, but it's worth a try.
Hey guys, Rick here. First off, I just gotta say the timing of this podcast subject is pretty incredible because, though I've played DKC2 and beaten it before, I had never gotten all the Krem coins and faced off against Captain K. Rool again and seen that absolutely beautiful ending before, personally. I had never done it until yesterday. So, just amazing timing with that. But on my 2 cents, oh man, it's super unfortunate because Crocodile Isle is just so awesome. And like, it's got way more going on than DK Isle. Donkey Kong Isle, it's beautiful, right? But, Crocodile Isle, it's got a library, it's got a theme park. I'm guessing the Kremlings eat a ton of honey, It's just got so much going for it, but at the end of the day, it was either us or them.
Well, thanks for the call, Rick. Always great to hear from you. And I'm glad you finished Donkey Kong Country 2 when you did, and we didn't spoil this for you. Spoiler warning. Oh,
you got in right under the wire.
It's right there in the title this week. It's like when I spoiled the end of the most recent James Bond movie and people got upset at me.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought everybody knew. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Like I would say Donkey Kong Island is just as interesting, but Crocodile Isle is just such a counterpart to Donkey Kong Island. It's like the opposite in every way. Like where Donkey Kong Island is massive and round, Crocodile Isle is massive and tall. And I think like, hey, we only explored the front of it. Like there could have been a whole backside to it filled with like 6 more worlds. Who knows, but ultimately it wasn't to be. It was destroyed twice, if you want, and never coming back. But Crocodile Isle sort of stays alive in spirit throughout the DKU in a few ways. Of course, we have the mechanical recreation of Crocodile Isle from off of Donkey Kong 64. Now, obviously, this is a poor substitute when we compare the two, but I think it's supposed to be a poor substitute. It's not supposed to be just as awesome because ultimately it couldn't be. This is what K. Rool came up with as a solution to reconsolidate his power and to reunify the Kremlings and the Kremling crew. But, ultimately it's just, it's a warship. It's a giant warship in the shape of Crocodile Isle. And what's interesting, though, is that, we never saw it after Donkey Kong 64 until Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And if we take Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as canon, which of course we do, then K. Rool's final smash implies that the mechanical Crocodile Isle is still operational. It's still intact. Or at least it was when the final smash took place, which I believe it took place in the year 2009. And that provides an explanation for why the face on Donkey Kong Island is not present in 2010's Donkey Kong Country Returns. It's because K. Rool showed back up sometime after Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. K. Rool showed back up in the mechanical Crocodile Isle, got the Blast-O-Matic working at maybe like 40% power. And he was like, fuck you, I'm doing it. And he blew the face off the islands, which was a war crime, obviously. And then that's why K. Rool didn't appear again for a decade. He went underground. He went into hiding. Now, it was K. Rool from 2018 who time traveled via, Master Hand and Subspace Shenanigans. He time traveled back to 2009. So the K. Rool of 2009 thought he was being framed. He was like, I didn't do this, but he did do it a decade later or whatever. And so, he did do it, but he didn't know that. But anyway.
Hyle, you're lucky I'm so agreeable. Otherwise, I would be really running you through right now.
No, I mean, think about it. K. Rool's final smash. It has to happen at a fixed point in time. He's not just blowing the face off the island every single time. So It has to happen at some point in the past. And so what happens is every time K. Rool activates his final smash, he's pulling the fighters back in time he's not pulling it, Master Hand or whatever is pulling them back, but whoever is facilitating the Smash tournament is pulling them back to that fixed point in time. And so, there's probably 200 to 1,000 Smash fighters, several, duplicates via, time travel, just all in that explosion, all at once. But that is the canonical point where the face got erased off the island.
All right. I guess it slides. It gives a good excuse for not having the face anymore.
It's not an excuse if it's a logical explanation.
Exactly.
It's like it's like I guess Hitler's suicide is a good explanation for why the war in Europe ended in 1945. It's like, well, no, it happened. I mean, anyway, but yeah, so at the very least, as late as whenever K. Rool's final smash takes place, the mechanical Crocodile Isle is still kicking around, which I hadn't really considered after Donkey Kong 64. I figured the Kongs would have dismantled it or, send it to the junkyard, broken it down and, I don't know, built laptops with it. I don't know what they would do, but they could recycle it, recycle the aluminum and get some cash. But it is apparently still operational. So maybe the Kremlings, or at the very least the Kremling crew, the military outfit of the Kremlings, maybe they have this mobile headquarters where maybe Klubba is still sailing around on a galleon, maybe the patched Gangplank galleon with the pirate Kremlings. And, there are Kremlings with homes that have some sort of tie to Crocodile Isle, but the vast majority of them now live on Donkey Kong Island, and elsewhere. But there's also the wilds in Sea of Thieves, which the wilds area in Sea of Thieves, if you don't know, is essentially one big Crocodile Isle homage. Now, I don't know. I don't know if this was the intent, but it's virtually identical in aesthetics.
It has the same feel to it, the same energy.
Yeah, it's the sky is greenish yellow. The water appears sickly green. The vegetation is scraggly and it's tropical, but there's no real vibrance to it. And yeah, I mean, it just looks like Crocodile Isle. It looks like the overworld of Donkey Kong Country 2. And considering how involved Greg Mayles was with the early days of Sea of Thieves, getting the game up and running, it's possible there was some correlation there. There was like, hey, we did this in Donkey Kong Country 2. This would be a cool visual motif for an area of the Sea of Thieves.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. I know exactly. I get exactly what you're talking about with the murky skies, murky waters. It really does have that exact same feel. It just doesn't have as many crocodile heads.
Yeah, unless you sail with the Golden Nile aesthetics on your ship.
That's true. You got to do some of the heavy lifting.
Right. Or you could wear the Kremling costumes in Sea of Thieves, the Golden Nile crocodile humanoid costumes.
Don't mind if I already did.
Yeah, we've done that on stream a few times. But I mentioned how it's nifty how we've seen the Kremlings resettle and kind of move on and deal with the fallout of the destruction of Crocodile Isle since DKC2. And I feel like that is an important point to make. The importance of Crocodile Isle's fate shouldn't be brushed aside. Because I feel like the Donkey Kong series would have far less interesting mythology and an evolution of its universe. It would have far less resonance through the goofy, cartoony asshole of Donkey Kong if it hadn't created such a stirring moment that you can never take back, Donkey Kong Land 2 aside, where, yeah, we lost a really cool setting that still had untapped potential. But I would argue that what was gained from losing it was far more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think that's what it all comes down to for me. I know at the beginning of the episode, the question was asked, was destroying Crocodile Isle a mistake? And my opinion is no, it is not. Was not.
Yeah, especially when we look at the plots of the Donkey Kong series since Donkey Kong Country 2, it is amazing how many of the storylines are not in an explicit way most of the time, but there's just this little undercurrent of it being driven by this action, by this accidental whoopsies of Diddy and Dixie are fighting Captain K. Rool. His blunderbuss backfires and knocks him into the Kremling source. The Kremling homeland erupts and is destroyed in fire and ash. And it's this huge flashpoint moment in the series where so many games and so many plots and so much character motivation spills out of this one moment. Before this, the series is about K. Rool wants the bananas. And after this, it becomes something a lot more meaningful. It's, oh, that happened.
Oh, no.
Which I'm sure is what K. Rool said.
That's what he would say if he was in Space Jam 2.
Donkey Kong Country 3 is all about the fallout, the political fallout of this happening, and we're left to assume that the Kremlings have basically anointed a new king, and it's all K. Rool's manipulations to stay in power. Donkey Kong 64 is all about the Kremlings rallying for revenge and attempting to do the same to Donkey Kong Island that was, in their mind, done to them. And then even after that, you know, we talk about how it's a shame that the Kremlings were not used, you know, at all with retro, but we look at the course of the buyout era and the games from Payon, and you do see like just basically the degradation of the Kremling crew, how it just becomes shambolic because they're no longer this unified entity. They've been depleted in numbers, and they no longer have, you know, this bond, this familiar element of their home to keep them together. So K. Rool's army gets less and less, and his plots become more and more harried and sort of batshit crazy because he's kind of flailing about. You know, you look at Jungle Climber, his last big scheme before his reappearance in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it's him. It's like, I got to take over the universe with the crystal bananas, and you know, he's just gone off the deep end completely. But he's out of options. You know, he's a desperate man.
I guess I'll just try to rule the entire universe.
If it comes to that, sure. And I think, you know, maybe this is what makes Crocodile Isle as achingly beautiful as it is. Because we talked about how it is this gloomy, sad location that nevertheless the beauty of nature shines through it. And maybe a part of that, retrospectively, is its impermanence. It was never meant to last, which is what makes the pathos of Donkey Kong Country 2 so extraordinary to this very day.
I totally agree. One thing that came to mind was how in Donkey Kong Country Returns, I like Donkey Kong Country Returns, but I feel like it's not really that memorable for me because it is a lot of locations we've been to before, and I kind of would not want that same situation with Crocodile Isle. Like, I wouldn't want Donkey Kong Country Returns to Crocodile Isle, and then you're just going through the greatest hits of DKC2. I mean, that would still be cool. It'd still be neat, but yeah. I think at the end of the day, I think it's good that we had Crocodile Isle, and then we didn't.
Yeah, it's almost like a life lesson for the little kids who play it. You know, it's sometimes less is more. Sometimes you've got to quit while you're ahead. And as much as it hurts to say goodbye, ultimately that is what life is about. It's not about immortality. It's about celebrating those fleeting moments and always treasuring the time we had. Like I said, pathos. And it doesn't even need an expensive remaster to convey that. Once again, Dustin, Diddy's conquest surpasses The Last of Us Part 1 in every conceivable way. And it didn't even need to use its Ellie until its sequel.
This has been a File 2 production.
Qué rico.